Yeah, the sub goalkeeper, Gary Walsh, should come on the pitch. Says, "You don't believe that what happened?" I says, "Well, what happened?" He says, "Eric's kung fu the guy in the crowd." I says, "No, you're right, I don't believe you."
Yeah. Coming up on the official Celtic FC podcast. Join us for part 2 of this exclusive interview with Brian McClair as he shares all about his Celtic exit and his incredible Man United stories.
This is the official Celtic FC podcast.
Yes, everyone, hello and welcome along to the official Celtic FC podcast, part 2 of our special interview with Brian McClair. We're just going to keep rolling here. If you've missed part 1, then it's on YouTube just now. It's wherever you get your podcast as well. We go through all of Brian's early days, his Celtic career, and we finished off there with that 1986 title win at Love Street. We're now going to just finish off in Brian's Celtic career and then look at everything Manchester United, everything thereafter that, and we're also going to finish on getting Brian's 1 to 11 of players he's played alongside, which is going to be, well, I'm excited for it anyway. I find it's going to be exciting. But Brian, why don't we just finish off then on your time at Celtic? We've finished there in the 1986 league title win. You have one more season at Celtic where you score 41 goals, I believe, in the final season. But unfortunately, we don't win any trophies. Finish second in the league, I believe, and get to a League Cup final as well. But for yourself personally, 41 goals is some achievement, Brian. How did you feel in yourself in that final year at Celtic?
Well, no, it's not, again, individual things. I wanted to be top goal scorer, but that was secondary. You wanted to win things. You know, we'd had that wonderful experience of winning the league, and we had a great opportunity to do that again. We didn't do enough to win the league that year. So, the last game you play is at, funnily enough, is at Tynecastle. So, and I actually, I got booked because I was aware that I'd scored 99. Well, I scored 98 league goals by then, and I'd scored a goal at Tynecastle, so I knew it was 99. So, and I got booked for remonstrating with one of the Hopes brothers who was refereeing that day. It was a certain penalty, no question it was a penalty. And he wouldn't entertain it, and I got booked for complaining so much about it.
So you didn't get the hundreds?
Yeah, well, no, I didn't, because that was my last
final
appearance. Game. But I like odd numbers. So
99 seems pretty good.
No, it's great. I'm so pleased. If you're talking to me, people ask me, and that's the only thing you mentioned early on about people say, "Well, tell us how many goals." Even if people meet me now, how many goals you score when you do this with that, I'm like that. I know 99 league goals for Celtic. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah.
Only because it's like 9 and 9, and it's like an odd number. And that particular, I know, got booked for remonstrating with the referee. And they're astonished that I'm like, why would I know? Why would I be so? And I think it's sad and peculiar. You would actually sitting there with a whole record of how many games you played, how many goals you scored, what wins and that would happen there. Special moments, of course, you remember them. But sometimes when you're, like I mentioned in the first part, is that bog head, that other things stick in your head for reasons, and the reasons were explained there. And sometimes you play really badly, but you remember them for something that happened particular to that moment. So that's the only one I know. I can't tell you many games or whatever else it is, but I know that it was 99 league goals. And people always would say the same thing. I don't. I like the idea is that that it was 99 league goals.
Yeah.
That and the millennial goal. What was it, 6,000 or 50, whatever it was? 6, I don't know. I don't know exactly that one, but I know it was one of them.
It was one of them.
Incredible. So that's the rest of it is, and even when they're talking about, and again, this is going back to me daydreaming about saying what you'd win. I have to think back and count, because I couldn't tell you right off. I can tell you, well, roughly, but
you were talking
not
about
exactly,
That's obviously your last game for the club you were reflecting on there. So just, I suppose before we move on to the next part of your career and moving down to Manchester, United. How do you reflect on your time at Celtic when you look back?
I had a great time. It was the best time, you know. It was of a time of just been going out and just playing football. We trained hard and we were really fit, but we went out and we were just given that message from David Hay that go and play your football, and that was great for me with regards to the freedom to be able to do that. Playing with good players helps, and great memories and great joy. And I say for me, I always remember it being happy, even in the times where you're losing in 4 cup finals, I think. So
Yeah.
and some of them in quite dramatic circumstances as well, you know.
Yeah.
So, but overall, it was a joy and a privilege.
So take us into that next phase then. So to paint the picture for those that aren't aware, this is 1987. Celtic are about to go into their centenary season. David Hay's been manager for 4 years. He loses his job in that summer. Billy McNeil's coming in. Of course, Celtic go in and win a double. However, you depart from Manchester United. Brian, tell us how that came about and what your thought process was.
I mean, one of the things that I was told by David just after Christmas that because there was he'd suspended contract just got the club had whatever because he thought it was a distraction, which may as well contributed to us not finishing the season as league champions, because there was a number of players out of contract, but they were concentrating on one particular player, and he just thought it was just dragging on. It was so he suspended that. He's duty bound to tell you because it's the rules and regulations at the time that you can talk to other teams that may be interested in you. I found out, I think, through a journalist or some that Alex Ferguson and Manchester United were interested, and I thought, why would he want to be interested in me out of all the players that Manchester United could sign? It's particularly in the UK, some parts of Europe in that time, but it seemed to be clear that was the case. However, I right up to the very end of David Hay's tenure, I hadn't made up my mind what I was going to do. I think overall that when you talk about that thing about going to Aston Villa and being kind of romanced, that Fergie romanced me better than Big Billy did, and I plumped for that. And when you made the decision, that's you just got to go and get on with it, you know. So and that it mattered. I would never thought I was going to be in England for that length of time, you know. I was going there because he sold me this dream. I mean, he told me that I want to be part of not just rebuilding a football team, but rebuilding a football club, and I was quite inspired by that.
And of course, Sir Alex Ferguson, having played your time in Scotland, you saw what he'd done with Aberdeen, but paint the picture of what Manchester United was like at that time, because you mentioned about rebuilding a football team and a football club. Yeah,
I mean, you were allowed as a kid to have an English team, and United were my English team. I liked them from when they got relegated. Dennis Law scored a goal, which didn't relegate them, but scored a goal, being a great United player for City in a derby game, back heel. And he walked straight off the pitch. Never didn't celebrate, walked straight off the pitch. Now so I followed him in the second division only by, again, highlights and reading the reports in the paper. So I was a fan of United, and I knew what the situation was in that won the league for such a long period of time. What had surprised me was at the press conference, because I didn't know this bit, was that there had been no player scored 20 league goals since that period of time as well, and that was George Best. And journalists seemed to be asking questions about that, and I was like, I'm not interested in who'd scored league goals. I just wanted to win things, right? And I thought, well, surely winning is more important, but this seemed to be what they were suggesting, that United, with regards to league scoring, was a bit of a graveyard, I suppose. But I was, as far as I was concerned, there to be part of what he told me, you know.
Did you welcome, or that pressure stepping into that pressure? Because obviously Manchester United hadn't been on top for a long time, so the task is fairly clear. Was that a pressure that was welcome to you? Or?
I think for me, having been on that, as I said, that bumpy ride from a 16-year-old to now a 23-year-old, was that this is the first time that somebody's actually stayed in the situation of being the person who wanted to sign for their club. So I felt I felt in an advantageous situation that this guy who's wanted to sign me, he's nearly still here after a couple of days, So you feel, and as I said, he'd sold you this kind of idea, which wasn't. It was dampened a little bit after I got my first hairdryer.
Do you remember that then?
Oh yeah, you don't forget those things. It was a lesson for his lesson to us, teaching to everyone about what was important. Pre-season, for me, pre-season had been to get fit and you go play games and win most of them, score some goals, maybe play out here against an English team, which was wonderful. And I remember playing at Villa, who had left, and scored a winning goal against Villa, and played against Arsenal. Charlie was playing, but mainly that was what it's for. But Alex had a different idea about what pre-season was about. And we played a game in Belfast against the League of Ireland Select, and some guy that one of their players said he was a big fan, could he swap shirts? I just assumed that was all right, because occasionally you could do that. Celtic's not like it is now, where you can, how many strips they've got to swap. It was fairly precious, I've always loved that. Particularly relevant to that strip is what Jock Stein had said about it doesn't shrink to fit.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I came in the dressing room and he comes in, and it's a pre-season game, 0-0. I thought we'd done quite well. He was watching a completely different game, clearly, in a different competition at a different time. He came in and smashed the door open, and he just launched around everybody, and it got to me, and it's just told me about what my game was, and then he said, "Where's your?" And I went, "I've swapped it." Well, I thought he'd come down, he was going to rip my head off, and saying that, he explained to him, it's not your shirt. Did you buy the shirt? Don't want to say no, or you just got to accept what's happening, and a tirade of all this stuff, and and I was just sitting there just to take it, and then he think, well, finishes, got the idea it's not my shirt, whatever, right? Goes around everybody, and I make a mistake, right, again, by putting my hand up, and he turns back and goes, what is it, and I said, will I go and ask for it back? And he just launched into another tirade about these stupid why did I say anything, so I wasn't sure then about whether I made the right decision. I'm thinking, this is a pre-season game, what's it going to be like when the season starts? It's going to be.
You'd already, as we spoke about in the previous episode, you'd been involved in dressing rooms that were run by people like, we talked about Frank Connor earlier, and Jock Wallace. Even when you come to Celtic, I would imagine even that Davy Hay at points, or Neil Mockin, these guys could go for it, but was there a different intensity?
I mean, you had what you had there, and it was a wee bit, I suppose Jock Wallace and Frank Connor were close to it, but not anywhere near, really. Was that when I went to United, you had Alex Ferguson, and his assistant was Archie Knox, and what you had was bad cop. That was Archie, and even worse cop, which was Fergie, right? So there was no kind of arm, shoulder, none of that. There was just shouting and screaming, and you're not fit, and
yeah. But in that time, because I think it's well documented that Sir Alex Ferguson goes into Manchester United 1986. Don't win the first trophy until 1990 with the FA Cup, and people always say, if that happened in the modern day, he might not have had the time. What did you sense in that period? Could you see the magic?
There's no magic involved in it. It's hard work and making the right decisions and getting in and recruiting in the right way. And then the recruitment part of it right away, when you look back in it, is this: Manchester United had stopped signing the best players in Manchester. City were getting them all, and he wanted to know why that was. And they didn't have enough scouts. They only had 2 or something like that. There's 5 million people living in Greater Manchester at the time, similar to the population of Scotland at the time. So you're not going to be able to find all these players by 2 people who are. So he reinvigorated that. But they'd done that and then managed to get the raw material, the product, which was the young players. Here's the videos of him and Archie coaching them at night time, right? So there was this kind of building a football club. So building a football club from the bottom. The difficult part was surviving the bit at the top, and that was through revolution, really, because the only thing that's important, and any manager or coach will tell you, is who's available to play. So when Brendan's looking to pick the team tomorrow, if there's people on the treatment table, they're of no concern to him, because they're not going to help what's going to be the situation tomorrow. So it's all about who's available to pull the jersey over their head. And there wasn't enough players regularly good enough, right? So there are a lot of good players at Manchester United, but they weren't available enough times for him to be satisfied with that. And he was looking at that as part of his. And if you look at his recruitment subsequently, the number of players who not only played for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years longer, and how many games they actually played for over that period of time, it's quite impressive. And that was what was important to them. And Whiteside, I've always said, is a great player. Kevin Moran's a good player. Paul McGrath went on, he's wonderful when he left Man United. Robbo didn't leave, stayed. But players that, and for other reasons, Gordon Strachan went, and they bought players who you look and say, they came in, they took a while to settle, but look at the number of games they play, you know. So if when Pallister Bruce came in, look at the number of games they play. And so in this period of time, look at the number of games they play. All those players that they bring in, but it took a little while for that to settle into a group that could be, and we've struggled at times, and that was because there wasn't enough. They weren't playing well enough. But he was given the time because of all the other things that the board can see. He had a great advocate, person in the board, and that Bobby Charlton was very supportive, because Bobby had been part of that building of a football club after the war in the 50s, part of the Busby base. So he knew what it was like with somebody like Matt Busby, and he could feel the same sort of thing within the football side of it. And you could see that Pallister was a good player. Just sometimes he needed a wee bit bruised, but you know, Dennis said when you could see that there was a saying that I've becoming Paul Parker and Ince Hughes, and then you get to sort of every year there was, even though the league position wouldn't reflect that, because it didn't, and you needed maybe a success to give you some more time. The cup thing was again a funny little sensation in that every single round was away, and every single game was on a Sunday. It was kind of, and within those games, they were all kind of really tight games, you know. There was little things happened, you know. And you need to have fortune, luck, whatever it is. And I think Fergie himself was a great believer. I think that without asking him, that he signed players that he thought were lucky, that had won things somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think that was part of his. Yeah, I think the main thing, as I said, was how often they're available. Because you're better being available and playing than you're not available. You know, so
it's a wonderful
your shit might be better than whoever the next person is, you know.
It's a wonderful insight, obviously, you know, speaking to someone who was right there, totally involved at the beginning of what is a footballing revolution at Manchester United, which was brought in by Alex Ferguson. Do you think it was one via replay, wasn't it, the cup?
And you look through all the things. As I said, we played Hereford away, and it really shouldn't have been on. The pitch was mire of Quag. It was ridiculous. It's still raining as well, you know. And parts of so guy was telling me the other night there they didn't make it to the game because the streets were flooded round about where they were. They were on the way down, couldn't get to the game because it was flooded, right? But we played the game. Outside's flooded, right? Outside there is flooded, and we played. It was on a slope, right? Played this game, and part of you've just been out there looking at a wonderful surface out there, right? Magnificent. You see the preparations for the games tomorrow. The preparation before that game, right? But Hereford, where it is in that part of the country, and they brought on before the game, right, a bull onto the pitch.
That's their badge, isn't it?
A bull.
Yeah.
A bull. I don't know if you've seen bull close. It's a big thing, right? And it's trampling all over this pitch, right? Before the game. And I'm thinking, anyway, you think even up to the point, you think this game's not going ahead, right? It's not going ahead, this game, right? So and it's tight and it's cup proper, you can imagine. Yeah. And it's a cup game where he's just struggling to play what you can do. I've knocked the ball down the line for Mick Duxbury, who beats the fullback, crosses it across, and Clayton Blackmore scores a goal. 1-0, things going all right. There's a moment in the game where a whistle goes from the crowd and we all stop. It's not coming from the referee though, but we didn't know it was not coming from the referee. We all stop. They're straight in on goal, and Jim Layton pulls off a save at the feet of the striker, you know, and we were like, what's going on, you know? Moments like that. Newcastle away end up winning 3-2. Semi-final, Oldham scored a goal that goal line technology in the replay, I think it was, would have been given, but it was 2 each, I think, the first semi-final. Second game, it's a goal. They're all celebrating, turn away, play on. We can see it's a goal as well, play on. Right?
Wow.
Play on.
Sometimes you just need a lot of things like that.
I think we win that game 1-0, I think, and you go to Wembley looking forward to going and playing a game in the cup final at Wembley. You score a goal early on thinking this is great and all that, and before you know it you're 3-1 down, looking at the clock thinking,
right?
How does this happen?
Yeah.
And again the same sort of thing, that you never give in, and Mark Hughes scores 2 late goals and we get away with it. And we got away with it on the Thursday in the replay because they changed their idea of how they wanted to play, and the idea on the Thursday was to be aggressive and to try and kick you, which played in. If there's a better chance if they tried to play the kind of football that they played in parts of the game on the Saturday. Lee Martin pops up and scores his only goal for Manchester United.
It's just I just wonder as well, because when we were to reflect on Jock Stein at Celtic, the chat is always winning the Scottish Cup in 1965 was the catalyst for everything that came. Yeah. Was it the same situation?
I think that those games were a distraction because there was a point where we could have got drawn into a relegation battle, a proper relegation battle. I think we finished at 6th bottom, but we got a proper relegation battle, and we wouldn't have won that because we didn't have enough players fit enough of the character that you needed to get you out of that. You know, like the Robsons weren't available enough. We managed to get enough points I think we went to Millwall with a team that the people would struggle to name now, and it was not an easy place to go. Sheringham's and Cascarinos and Horlocks and some mad centre halves and mental crowds, and we managed to beat Millwall 2-0, I think, which I think kind of kept us just, and then we could just concentrate on whatever happened in the final. But it's like anything, the same thing. But 65, when you win something and it's been a little period, it's the first thing. You know, I don't know how many of those players that played that game. It was the first thing they'd won. Yeah. It's the idea that you want to come back to Wembley again. You want to keep winning. So you're creating a winning philosophy. You're creating a winning atmosphere, and you wanted to win. And we started again then from getting a wee bit better, a wee bit better. Then you get to a situation where you're almost there, and and you get messed up because we were asked to play 4 games in 7 days, which is just crazy, you know.
Yeah. And that's 1990. I think everything changes in modern day football with the advent of the Premier League in 1992, and particularly Man United, because you go on and have this period of success. But in between those years, after the FA Cup final, you then come back, you win the Cup Winners' Cup, you win the Super Cup, which you score in, you win League Cup as well in that period as well, before the Premier League kicks off. What memories stand out for you, Brian, out of all of those? The Cup Winners' Cup seems like a big win in Manchester.
Yeah,
United's
I mean, it was the first year that English teams were allowed back in, so that up to that period of time from 87 to 90, English clubs went in Europe, and going back to the memory of the games I'd played here, you wanted to be involved in those exciting times. So going back into the Europe was a bit of it was a new thing you wanted, and Alex Ferguson wanted to win everything you were involved in, and we get to a final against which turned out to be the following year a great Barcelona team. But when you get to a final, you think you can win. Doesn't matter who you're playing. You know, sometimes you're hoping that maybe their players are not quite as on form as you are. I'm given with regards to the memory about that. Again, it's a bit of a wet evening. When you go out, it looks as though there's a lot more United fans than Barcelona fans, so you're up for that kind of thing. And the team talk in the afternoon, Alex Ferguson comes in, and the first thing he says, and pointing to me in front of everybody, if I do my job today, you win the game. And I don't know what my job is. I know I'm shitting myself right away. So then he tells me what my job is. My job is when they've got the ball, I've got to man-mark Ronald Koeman and make sure he doesn't, because he thinks he's the one that makes them play. I have to stop him passing the ball more than 5 yards. So my job as a second striker at that time was to be right next to him during the game, you know. No, that's not the only reason why we win the game, but we end up winning the game 2-1. So you're on another roll again and another great party, and then you're looking forward to the following season. I mean, one of his things, he comes in, he didn't come into the dressing room very often. He came into the dressing room first day of pre-season. He'd come in and say, forget about what happened last year. Who's willing to climb back up to the top of the mountain? Because I am. That's what he said, I am. And if somebody just don't fancy it, just come and tell me, and right away you say simple like that. Well, there you go, it's a new thing, and it's back again at this. And over that period of time, I would imagine he said the same thing every year, that before irrespective of whether they won the Champions League or whether they did a season of fruitfulness, which they had occasionally.
People are looking for the magic of Sir Alex Ferguson, and that's it right there.
It's the winning. It's the winning mentality, you know. But
he wanted to win at everything. I mean, he wanted to win at everything.
Quizzes and all sorts. And
everything. He wanted to win everything. Cards, quizzes. Yeah, he cheated at quizzes. Yeah. So he had a thing called, we found out, called Any Questions Asked. Aqua, before the internet really became a big thing, and you could text some people who were doing it on the internet. You could text them a question within seconds and come back with an answer. So he's playing in a quiz against the players, and they were like, and they were going, how does he know what Jesus and the Mary chain are? You know, what?
Ahead of the times.
It's like, how do you know that? You know, that. You'd be like, bizarre things. The War Boys, where are you getting that from? You know? and later on, he's like, what's that, Aqua? And he's texting. These people are sitting in front of computer screens. It's like, and it wasn't even, he was not paying for it. It's a club phone. It was like 15-25 pence a text, and he's like running up this. You know, one of the chairmen was going through his phone bill and going, "What are these, Alex? What are all these texts?" You know, I said, whatever, you know. And he wanted to win everything he did.
Brian, there's so 1992 Premier League begins. I think we could probably spend so much time if we went through every season and all the successes and the games. I think everybody knows what happens during that period. What I'm interested in is more about the individuals that you played alongside during that time. And the first name I want to mention is one Eric Cantona, who's Manchester United signed for the start of the Premier League season. He's just won the league title with Leeds United. just what influence did he have in the football club going forward, and was he one of the catalysts to change the club?
He's still having an influence on my life now. Somebody was telling me yesterday he's singing in Glasgow in a couple of weeks. Well, I don't know if
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's now a singer. I don't know if you've seen that.
What does he
No,
not do?
I didn't know that.
Well, for me, I'm doffing my cap to somebody that's going to pay him to be whatever it is. Can I see him? He never done any singing when I was there. Didn't show any interest in music, but yeah, he's playing at the in the Gorbals in a couple of weeks, and being Eric Cantona as an evening with singing. I don't know. I've not heard it yet.
I'm 100% going to
that sounds
go and find
unbelievable.
tickets.
Yeah,
for
but maybe it's worthwhile going because it's
Can you
that's
get
what it
us
is. but-
involved, Brian?
Aye,
Get
I-
us agree.
we want to go.
The one of the first thinking is for me is I'm not getting the game. That's going back. I'm going back down.
Yeah.
I'm going back down the roller coaster again. I'm not getting a game. But he was just something that was good for us at the time because he was a good player. You know, we couldn't get his on why Leeds were willing to sell him. Because we played against Leeds won the league. People going about Man United lost the league, but Leeds won the league. That's the old First Division, and Eric was a big part of that. And I think, and you could see when playing against him quite a few times. He was a good player, physical and skillful. And I'd seen him playing for France as well against. Privileged to be on the bench watching France hammer Scotland 3-0 in Paris, and Eric was one of those. And you can see he's what a player he is, And you're thinking, why are they selling him, And he had this reputation as a enfant terrible, as a naughty boy, And that's what he came with because you'd seen videos of him punching referees and his own teammates and all sorts of stuff, throwing the ball and. But anyway, he was impeccably behaved until a certain situation.
Yeah.
Up to that point, he was brilliant. He's a great teammate, good lad. Just came in, and he had an influence in this, in the fact that people going on about you'd listen to the class of whatever year they're calling themselves, Neville and Butt and all that, saying about him staying late for training and practice and all that. I just didn't think he wanted to go home.
Yeah, he just enjoyed it.
Life was didn't want to go home. His missus, they wasn't practicing really. So,
So
they would apparently stay because he would always tell. He was always tell you to get in, So I don't know whether this bit about you stay out and do more, because he was always thinking you've done enough, save your energy for the game, So it's a wee bit of a myth attached to that kind of thing. Maybe I'm just jealous as well, So.
Selhurst Park.
I was there.
I
I was there.
What was the dressing room like after that?
It's all games like that, That's the thing is what you'd think when somebody I didn't actually see the event, when I turned there was some kind of thing had happened, because Schmeichel had run out his goal towards and there was a stushy going on by the dugout but until after the game finished. Of course, again, because we were thinking that he's been sent off, but we're going to get the blame for it if we don't get a result out of this game.
You're going to get the blame for
Well,
it?
we're going to blame for it. It's not going to be Eric's fault he got sent off.
Is that the manager?
Oh, yes, that's the mind. That's it. No, we're the ones that are going to get it. But I didn't know what happened. And the sub goalkeeper, Gary Walsh, would come on the pitch. Says, "You don't believe that what happened?" I says, "Well, what happened?" He says, "Eric's kung fu the guy in the crowd." I says, "No, you're right. I don't believe it." So I'm telling you, Jock, I'm like, "Nah, I can't say that." I says, "Let me tell you something, Gary." I says, "I did physics at university." It says, "And that side of the pitch there is higher than the terracing by a good couple of feet, and there's a bar on top of this brick wall." He says, "You can't kung fu a guy in the crowd, which your momentum should carry you forward. And by the time I've gone like that, and I know I'm not the quickest, but that's clearly quick. He's back on the pitch." Nah, that's not possible. I'm telling you. So, and that's what you think. And then when I got home, it was just like never seen anything.
Defied physics.
And he did the way he did it as well. And then he broke his back because he landed on that metal bar. He landed on that. He lands on that metal railing thing. I'm watching going. I had to keep rewinding it before. Yeah, it was a video. Some of you might remember them. Videos, rewind that. What's that?
It's just one of those moments.
And you're just thinking, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And it's like, what do you do? What does the manager do? And then I'm going, if that's me, I'm finished. I'm finished. So what's he going to do? So
Did he get privileges a little bit from?
He did.
Sir
I
Alex
think that
Ferguson?
the original thinking was that you, as in most situations, you're finished, you're getting sacked. But there was other reasons why. I think for the whole kind of thing, he got harshly treated, in this, but particularly in the first thing, because he went to court and he got sent down. So he's going down there to go, and he gets taken downstairs into a police van on the way to proper prison. And you're like, how does that happen? And then he gets community service, I think, and he got banned. I think the ban wasn't commensurate with it kind of thing, but I think it was because of him, because it was United. We always felt that, It's
Really?
a bit like, maybe, but same thing. You'd feel it with Celtic, and Fergie encouraged the siege mentality. It's us, it's all about us, and you never forget about what else. That's the only kind of thing that happens in here.
Does that help to galvanise a squad?
I think that helps. You've got a belief. I mean, his things are fairly might be or might not be obvious, So would he be looking at? He would be saying, yet you would have to have respect, loyalty, and honesty. And that doesn't mean that you're telling the truth all the time, but respect in the sense you're respecting your teammates. You don't have to like them.
Mm-hmm.
People, again, being part of surprised at me that we're not all out for all of those players that you mentioned right from when I first playing, that we're all out meeting all the time and drinking. And we've got WhatsApp groups, although maybe they've got WhatsApp groups and they're out drinking together and I'm not invited, which is a distinct possibility. But I like to think that might not be the case, and that's what it was. Loyalty, that can you do it and respect your players, and that you knew that if it kicked off, which it did occasionally, that they would be at your shoulder, and that was trust, loyalty, respect. There you go. That was his thing: trust, loyalty, respect. When I was coaching, I like to throw in fun as well, because I think that it should be.
Yeah. A big part of the success to that Manchester United team, Brian, was the young players that came through, which of course you mentioned have been heralded as the class of '92, and Paul Scholes and David Beckham and the Nevilles. I want to ask your thoughts on. Well, Gary Neville, actually, you've been having a bit of a ding dong with recently. What's the story with?
I'm not
with
been
that?
having a ding dong with anybody. Occasionally, I just throw something in and see.
What's the truth behind that in the Stone Roses?
There appears to be two truths, so I'm not going to be decrying what went on, So, I know what happens with regards to why we don't go with the United stop going out to simply the best, because I thought it'd be amusing to tell the manager that Rangers come out to that, and if you watch the film, you can see that particularly at that time there was an antipathy between Alex Ferguson wanted to beat, particularly with Aberdeen, wanted to beat Rangers more than anybody else because of what happened to him when he was a player, which he talks about in the film.
Yeah.
So I knew about these things. I mean, little gains, about you're going to shout at me and give me a row, I'm going to throw something in that I thought would annoy him, so he nearly chokes on his porridge. And that was the kind of thing. We had a little debate about what it should be, and he loved, still does, I'd imagine, the crooners of the 50s, all these people like Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., all that Rat Pack crew, and all these other people, and he kept mentioning them. Like, sounds like you'd get buried to Gaffer, not something you'd go on the football pitch, and he lost his temper about it and just told me, you effing pick it then. So it's another little thing you remember. So I picked This Is the One, which I was listening to when I was here, first album. Yeah. But these things, it doesn't really matter about it, I just think it's fun. I mean, I quite liked, I got involved with it because I was doing something, and then I quite liked this kind of idea that you could just message something and people would just leap upon it, and there'd be all of a sudden maybe a trend, whatever it is. I just thought that was quite funny,
It caused a bit
originally with that, right? And then when COVID hit, and there was a lot of uncertainty, lots of different things, and because I didn't really want to be messaging things when people were having real tough times and the people losing their lives. I didn't want to be inventing whimsical sort of things that I'd been doing previously, so I stopped doing it. But every now and again, something I can't resist. It's the only thing I can't resist. Temptation, I can't resist.
Yeah.
So I just think, well, and then just like throwing something in. You know?
I've seen you.
It's not like it doesn't really matter, but
I don't know. I think it's a fairly important part.
but I mean, I can't, because I know that we came out to that at a certain time. That doesn't say that there's a period where that changed again, and it was something else. But I think it's funny.
But I've seen you speaking to.
So,
Is it? I think he's speaking to Manny.
about
this.
Well, I mean,
the
that's what happened, and I know the reason why I remember that is the joy of for that little small victory of Fergie nearly choking on his porridge.
Listening.
But their
that's
story.
the official story.
I can't argue with their version of events. I'm not saying that at all. And it makes for I mean, it's a good little story with the way things are.
Yeah.
The situation where it is now. Maybe if I had made more on TikTok with that story.
That's it. You need to get in that.
Well, is that right? Is that the right?
Aye.
Sorry.
What your first thoughts then of that group of players coming through?
I'd played with them in the reserves because I wasn't playing so much around about that time anyway, you know. So the first one to get in was Butty, so Butty was playing more than I was, you know. But I'd been training with him sometimes because I had to go and train. Well, I went to train with the reserves, and they were all in the reserves at that time. And you could see. But then also because of the Premier League, they started to change the fixtures, so we had chances to watch them actually playing on a Saturday morning. So even the Saturday morning, there was a really good group. All of the players in that group were really good, a lot of good players. But you could see the ones, particularly Scholes, because he was so small with ginger hair and the strip didn't fit him, and he looked so unhealthy. But he's things he would, even then, you think he's certainly that age, you know. Yeah. You'd other ones who you would think have no chances of a football career, but end up having one only because they just ran around all over the place, and that was Robbie Savage. But you wouldn't have picked. You'd be like, no. But certainly Scholes and Nicky, and Nicky came into the team at first one of the team, and I couldn't for the life of me see a player in David.
Really?
No, I couldn't. He just seemed to want to hit the ball like as far as he could from one side of the pitch to the other. A lot of the time, straight out of the pitch, and what are you doing, you know? So, and again, there's the way that football works is that he goes on loan to Preston, does quite well. They can't scrape up the money to buy him. I think he would have sold him, and he gets it again. Like I've said about opportunities, where did they come from? And belief in the other staff you had, youth team coach, reserve team coach, and first team coach who had all known them, saying, "Yeah, give them a chance." So Mark Hughes goes to Chelsea, Paul Ince goes to Inter. Paul Parker is dilly-dallying about a contract and he gets withdrawn. Kanchelskis goes with Everton. So there's 4 places in the squad available. And everybody says let them have a go. Now it was down to them to take that on board. What was an advantage for them was that hoodoo of not winning the league for 20 odd years is gone. That's gone now. That's finished. And young players invigorate you, and there's challenging into it. You've got to step up to whatever else it is. And they all did. Some of them did better than what I would have expected. David adapted his game to become the good player that he was. Gary Bennett, for me, the way that, particularly with Gary, was that Gary worked hard and very, very hard at what he could do. He had a long throw, and he could pass the ball to Roy Keane, he could pass the ball to David Beckham, and then he was made himself available to pass it again. He developed crossing after that, but that was it. He was always a good defender. He'd been mainly a centre half, he'd been playing right, but for me that was him. Pass the ball to Roy, pass it to David, and then long throw.
You passed it to David for the greatest assist of all
well, yeah.
time.
Because when
he's
you
going
were
in
saying that,
public.
I was just wondering too. I was daydreaming when I'm wondering here, right, about something else, and I was thinking, right, well, if I was doing something, I'd be putting up. This is me. You just talking about yours beginning of all those weeks ago when we did part 1. Is this about me? Is there's like putting it up? What is it? Playing career wise, is a game at Love Street. Passed the ball to some French lad. Passed the ball to a Spice Boy, and started a 20-man brawl, and that's
your
it.
career.
That's
the
it.
So
headline.
that's it. We can
That's
wrap it up here.
That's it. So when I was and then the thing about that one as well with the halfway line was that I was told to go onto the pitch and calm the game down because the game was almost won, and that's my job. So when I pass the ball to him, almost 11 inches, I go round behind him expecting him to just roll the ball back to me, and then I can pass it out to the Dennis Irwin or whatever, and we just keep the ball. And I can see what he's doing, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? I'm going to get my ass kicked. I'm going to get a hairdryer because you're shooting, you know. And I'm like, what are you doing, you know? And then you're looking and going, that's not bad, that. And at the time, there was always an opportunity for United fans to get into Selhurst Park. So behind the goals, there was a lot of United fans, and they start cheering. I'm thinking, oh my God, that's gone in. And then for some reason I jump on his back, so that's one of my great moments. I can't jump that high anymore, so I'm proud that I can jump that high.
I found it interesting. We were talking in the previous episode, and you said that as a boy going to Aston Villa, there was no sort of appreciation in terms of from other players, whatever, of the fact that you were young, we were just in and everything, and you were expected to just adapt. When these players came through at Manchester United, was the dressing room the same with them?
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, your Paddy Crerand, I think, said, you're either good enough or you're not. Not interested with age, yeah. So you're either going to be good enough to play in this team beside him in that period, or you're not, and that will never be anything different. They came into a strong dressing room with strong characters and people who'd been winning things who were determined that you better step up because we like this winning thing. Yeah. We're quite enjoying this, so you better be at it. And they would get told all the time that when they weren't at it, you know, you got to do better and whatever it is, and stop that, you know, do that, just various different things, you know. I tried to say to David it wasn't a good idea for him to be driving around town in a convertible rather than resting. Yeah. You know, with sunglasses on a Friday afternoon, you know. What are you doing, David?
Did he listen?
I don't think so, no. You know? You just try to explain to them things, you know. Listen, when he finds out, you're going to get because he'll find out. Because people couldn't wait to tell him, you know. You know where you went, they couldn't wait to tell him. That, even when you weren't there. I don't know, called into his office to be accused of something that wasn't even there. You know, wasn't there. The other two were there, and they just said that they weren't there either. You know, it's just, but the people couldn't wait to clap on you.
Yeah, it's amazing memories. Just one other name I wanted to mention, Brian, because of his links with Celtic as well, was Roy Keane. What was he like to share a dressing room with? I think a lot of people have a mystique around him. Roy's.
I mean, Roy does very well in what he does, and is being himself. So when he's talking about football and what it meant to him, he's just telling you exactly how he feels. He's not making anything up about it, and he's been forthright about it because he was always taught to be forthright about it when he was a player. He's had the times of working with Brian Clough when he was a really young player, and he comes to Manchester United, and he's had Alex Ferguson. He's had the experiences of being sent home from a World Cup because he believed in the standards and the right thing, and he's determined and believes that when he's saying things, it's right. And he's like any other one. He's got a great sense of humour. he likes to enjoy. He loves his music. You know, he loves Bob Dylan in particular because he uses that about one of the things about he doesn't understand this whole kind of situation with selfies, for example.
I love seeing that. Yeah.
You know, and I get his analogy, you know, but it's highly unlikely that Bob Dylan will be walking down a street in Cheshire. But I know what he's saying, you know. But what a good player! Forget about all the other things. He was a good player.
Yeah, and your time at Manchester United. I mean, what an incredible 10 years or so in the end. Finishes with a testimonial against Celtic in 1997. But when you look back and the success that you had as a team, which you always say is the most important thing, just how do you reflect on those years with Manchester United?
Well, you look at it. For me, I look at it as that 13-year-old boy, and being told this story that you're attempting to tell now, which is still happening. You know, I'm still being asked to do things. I still hear it after 6 decades of life talking about football and about what experiences I had in football. So if you'd always said that would continue to happen all those years, and by the way, you would have a couple of little trinkets along the way and incredible memories, some memories. You'd have went, oh, that's some story that you need to get on. There's been Netflix series and that.
I know, get your own
13-year-olds, you know. So
everyone's got a documentary.
but it's the but that's it. That's how it is. So it's all of it. As I say, even your hairdryers, or being told that you should get a plane to Milan the next day, or having. I mean, there was I played a game at Goodison against Everton. Everton a lot better than they are at the moment, in the sense of difficult place to go, and I played the whole game in the first half where I did not do one thing right. I couldn't have deliberately played badly. I couldn't have deliberately done anything worse than what I did. I didn't do one thing right. Couldn't control the ball, couldn't pass the ball to somebody, teammate, couldn't do anything, didn't do a single thing right. And I came in at half time and the manager pointed that out to me, and at the end of his words of encouragement says, don't think you'll be coming off now, because I thought he's going to take me off. I'm that bad, right? I can't stay on that. I'm just terrible, stinking the place out. He said, don't think you're coming off now. He says, because I'm no, suffering. You're not getting away with that. He said, just any chance you can pass the ball to someone with the same colour shirt. I'm like, well, actually it was a bit of a challenge the first. I can't guarantee that I can do that in the second half. Anyway, I went out and played a bit better in the second half. But from that period on, the physio, every single game, depending on what would go, Jockey, and I go, remember, you're wearing red. Jockey, yeah, what is it? Remember, you're wearing blue. Jockey, what is it? Remember, you're wearing green and yellow. There's his little thing for the next period of time. So, I mean, as I say, that I don't even know. I think we won the game. I was terrible, but you look back on it as a moment of fondness.
Yeah,
amazing. Matt, is there anything else from Manchester United you want to pick up on before we go into like the 1 to 11? Because obviously Brian is in such an important figure in the youth academy as well, and Manchester United have such a history. I think still one of, I don't know how many years it is now, they've always had a player from the academy in a first team squad, and you think of some of the names that came through, which I might have been keen to ask about. But is there anything else you kind of want to touch on before we?
Well, but on that sort of thought, in terms of moving into that role within the academy, your role within the club is obviously then totally different in terms of you're not out there on the field playing. Did your relationship with Alex Ferguson change at that point in terms of you're now a sort of part of his staff?
Well, yes, it's a different relationship, but it didn't immunise you from getting a hairdryer. Really? Which might have been something that happened in 1992, like one day at lunch that he decided for whatever reason that I'm getting it for a game that happened 15 years before, in front of everybody. There's no like thing about come on, I'll have a chat with you, just for whatever it is. That was your fault, and gives you. And I can't argue about it because he was right what he said, right? So And sometimes it's a message to everybody that, you know, he was concerned. He's saying that, you know, don't be resting on your laurels. You got to come in here every day, and the expectation is you to put a shift in. Again, none of it was work. I'd been away for 2 years, and I'd been doing my coaching badges. So, but an opportunity arose again. Something like being a player. An opportunity arose was that Alex Ferguson's decided that he's retiring, and Steve McLaren, who was hoping he was in a position to become United manager, is told he's not, leaves. So there's a kind of interim period of 12 months, and the Jim Ryan gets moved up to assistant, and Mick Phelan gets moved from reserves to be first team coach. There's a position available, and somebody mentions me, and I end up getting a job as a reserve team coach for 12 months. I just finished my A licence, and so this gives me an opportunity to practice something for a year to see whether I've got an aptitude for it, or and I go in the first day, and he just gives me a list of players there for you, and I'm away on my own. You know, there's no support. I had a physio, but he wasn't out every day, so I'm away on my own. It was great, just having a group of players. Dan Fletcher was in that group, and I developed this kind of thing where I knew how fit we were when we were playing. And so I did all the things that I hated. I gave all them the running stuff that I hated, because I thought that must be a purpose to it. And then when I was doing things with the ball, I did all the things that I liked. So there was a mixture of, I knew they were going to be fit, and hopefully they were quite light when the ball came out. And that's what I developed a kind of idea of what you should be doing. Along the way, you're learning every day about different things, what you're trying to do, try to give them subliminal messages about what opportunities you've got, what might happen, what, you know. And I really enjoyed it. And then he changes his mind and doesn't retire, and he gets rid of the 2 youth team coaches, and I end up being in. So I must have done something in that period to make a difference to whoever, you know. I was just there. I loved it, because I was just left unwanted to do whatever I wanted to do.
Are there any players that stand out during your time as being a youth team?
Well, it started not just some. I mean, I was thinking about, when I was doing that thing in my head about what would I say, what would I be saying to people, and one thing that there's been a lot of examples of in football over many clubs have lots of things, is that with young players, for me, is you need to be patient, right? So, and sometimes, you know, that it might take a long while, even though you're getting opposition from people who think that it's time for them to move on. So the one that in particular for me is Scott McTominay, who's playing he's in Manchester United squad, scores a winning goal the other day, and he's starting for Scotland. Scott had a real tough time in his growing up period, because he grew kind of oddly. His legs grew before his body grew, so he looked very odd for a start, you know, like big long legs and a wee short body. And because of this growing scenario, he's developed lots of different injury problems. And there were people who would have let Scott go at 14 would have let him go at 16. But there was things in there that, not just me, but a few other people could see that we thought, well, he's not costing us anything. He's not ruining when he's available. He's not ruining it. You can see that he's good enough to take part in the practices. He just needs to see what he's going to be like physically. Now you can see what he's like physically, and he's unlike me. He can occasionally pass the ball to somebody with the right same colour as shirt, you know. So, and now that he's scoring the odd goal, right? And that sort of thing for me is more rewarding than somebody that like Rashford. Everybody's always said since he was a kid he's going to be a player. Again, it depends on when you get the chance. Marcus gets the chance because there's no other faults, none. You know, the one who should have got the chance was Will Keane, who got injured because Van Gaal's training was too hard. So Will Keane's playing in the Championship, I think, scoring goals. But he was the one who should have. But no, there's nobody else. It's only Marcus, and Marcus goes along to do. And he's doing what he's doing now. But the ones who that that you'd hope, you know, see how they grow and all that thing. McTominay and Michael, Will Keane's brother Michael, was another one who's playing. Well, he's at Everton. He's played for England. You know, and one of the, I'll just tell a little story. We used to make them with this idea about what you're trying to do with them, and very much at the time the fashion as it is now is coloured boots and different. And we just think we made them wear black boots. You're wearing black boots, and they thought it was all a punishment. The other players, that's a punishment. And I'm like, look, it's not. When you get, if you get into that dressing, you can do what you like. It's not bothered what you're doing, right? But you can do what you like. You're wearing black boots, right? And the reason why we were doing it was we didn't want it to be a distraction. So you're coming in the morning, you get changed, you know you're going to be out, and you're going to work, right? So this is your uniform, no gloves, no hats, no snoods, no underarm, right? None of that stuff. You're coming out here to do this. Is what it is. And you wear black boots, right? And they always try all the time to. They would do those things you're talking about with Neil Mockin. They would try and paint over the pink boot, not pink, but paint them over black, right? All this kind of thing. Which in a way I didn't mind so much, but because they have to make an effort for a start, right? You know, go buy some black paint from somewhere, right? So they're going to be supplied. So it was just a distraction. But there was a lovely little thing about Michael Keane gets picked for England's under-21s. And do you know what the rest of the players were calling him?
What?
The referee.
That's brilliant. It's
Because he was wearing black boots.
I mean, what a history of players, what a career, Brian. We're going to finish off now on your 1 to 11, which we've asked you to put together. So, don't know. Do you want to just run us through it?
Well, just pick players who had an influence for various different ways and different reasons for things. So, you can. There's 11 players. So you've got. I assume you've just got to pick a goalkeeper. And I picked Peter Latchford, who was number 2 goalkeeper when I was here. But Peter was great, right character, good to chat to, and Peter allowed me to do another thing that 13-year-old boy would never have dreamt was a possibility. In that, I got into a thing called Sud's Corner in Private Eye. Right, which means that you've just come out with some fucking outlandish comment that's you're just a pseudo-intellectual, right? And because Peter Latchford had read all of Tolkien's books, this is before any of the films and all the other things, so he'd read them all. Things that were difficult to read, like this book called The Silmarillion. I think I got through one page of it. And I'd said that Peter Latchford was one of the UK's foremost experts on Tolkien. Right, it's a serious comment, right? And anyway, that makes it into the Private Eye. So it's something I'm also proud of. Danny McGrain, because he was such an influence on me when I first came as a young person, you know, and always great with his advice for a player, and great player to play with. I just I knew that what he was going to do, knock the ball over the top, and I just run into the channel. Brilliant, and always entertaining. Saw him last year, brilliant, hilarious, and still the same thing where you've not seen someone for a long time, just treating you exactly the same way, and that I just love him. He's brilliant. One of my recent purchases is a T-shirt with Danny McGrain on the front, but there's a secondary reason for it as well, because my arm is just in the background, but it's kind of blurred out. So, but it's the captain. I think it says the captain, Danny McGrain. Brilliant. And that's the thing. I suppose you'd have to have Billy in it because he signed me. Yeah. You know, so he had this idea of whatever it was. I don't think it was I was ever. Just the whole premise was that I was going to be a replacement for Charlie. Charlie did me a favour by leaving, I think, but I don't think that was the case. But Billy for signing me. Defender as well. I'd pick Gary Pallister. He's the most idle football player that I've ever come across. He'll say it was me, but it's I used to run around a bit when I got home. He used to lie on the couch all day. Yeah. So much that when he got up, there was an impression of his body like the Turin shroud in his sofa. Permanent Gary Pallister shape in the sofa. So with lots of good times as Carl Sharon. What else have we got?
It's the left back.
No, there's not going to put anybody
Just-
in particular.
Nah, just going for it.
You can't have, as I said in the earlier previous episode about funny people, Gordon Strachan. Another one who's
Is he the second redhead?
out of both of them. I'd like to see both of them together. That would have been
Yeah.
incredible.
Tommy.
Well, actually, there's a story about that about here. It's just,
Oh, the two of them.
I'll
Yeah,
tell
of
that.
course.
The two of them here. Gordon's manager and Tommy's whatever first team coach, I think.
Just a bit of everything, yeah.
So Tommy, so there's a game here, and it's not going so well. And Tommy used to stand at the far end of the dugout, chatting away with some of the punters at the side, and it's not going so well in the game. And Gordon sees Tommy walking up the touchline slowly, and Gordon's thinking, "Oh, Tommy's going to come and he's been here as a player, as a manager. He's going to give me the information that I need to change the game and how to improve things." And Tommy slowly, this is nearly, "Come on, Tommy, hurry up!" It comes up, and he leans over and he cups his hand to his side of his face and puts it up to Gordon's ear and says, "Wee man, I know where the trap door is." And slowly walks away. And all the punters are thinking, "Yeah, Tommy, you tell him that's," it's like that.
What you gonna do?
What we're going to do. So yeah, for those, and Gordon's, but he was great when I went to United. He was very supportive. He advised me to live in Wimslow rather than another part of town,
Yeah.
because they didn't drink as much in Wimslow as they did in the other part of town. So that was pretty decent advice. Paul McStay.
What else can you say about him?
Well, he's got a great nickname, isn't he? The Hat.
Aye.
The Hat. That's what
What's
you
it-
called him.
What's the story behind it?
The story behind it is his hair never moved, so I think it was Tommy Burns, I think.
That's
again,
amazing.
yeah.
Tommy Burns is always on.
Yeah, but Tommy Burns is responsible for me and called me as well. That's because
Jockey.
because when he got his idea and his because nothing was more entertaining and pleasing to him than knowing that he was annoying you. Right, that was just saying, not annoying you like nasty, but just irritating. Like he'd have some that would live in just irritate you, right? So it was the Hat, because he looked like a hat. They never moved. His hair never moved, and then they would call him Le Chapeau, French for hat, So it'd be Le Chapeau, and the Hat, and there's nothing you can't argue with that,
And you were shocking.
That's
Of
brilliant.
course, with Maestro, playing at Basel in pre-season, that first pre-season, and it's two guys have travelled all the way, come over this big terrace at Basel, a roasting hot day, shout down, "Come on!" And they've got all Celtic gear on, that including puffer jacket, puffer big coats and all that, and hats and scarves. So it's 90 degrees. Somebody, "Come on, the chocolate McClair." And he's like, "Chocolate, you're having that." chocolate. That was the whole time, because he thought that was annoying me. It wasn't annoying me at all. I never had a nickname. So, and then they get shortened or whatever. Still chocolate sometimes. So for Tommy Burns, from those kids.
Yeah.
And Paul,
Obviously.
Paul's a great player and a smashing lad. Norman Whiteside, for me, is another player that when Norman was great in that he would choose the right thing. He always choose the right pass, always choose the right decision. Funny, never swears, still doesn't swear. And I mean, for somebody to roll the ball to the side when he could shoot and knock it into an empty goal against Arsenal away, he's got to be applauded, But unfortunately, going back to that point we're making about being available, it wasn't available, and that wasn't to do with his habits. It was to do with his body. He'd been maltreated, I think, through some different surgeries, and he ended up having to retire not long after he left United to go to Everton. Intelligent man, went on to become a podiatrist, and he's now after dinner speaking. Good player, though.
Yeah.
Good for me, yeah.
Yeah, good. A few more left.
Yeah, I've got what is it left? Oh, I'll leave that one.
In fairness, I mean, there's so
I
many
suppose,
things,
I mean, like, because of the influence and because he's still perpetuating some myth about what he was like, Now, for me, he's Eric, right? French guy that comes in who makes a big difference, who comes in the morning, sits quietly, gets on with it, and plays well on the football pitch, and can create a fashion of putting your collar up, right? That sort of thing. But for me, he's Eric, good guy. Now, there's another thing. It's Cantona, right? Which is a complete. And I've seen him become Cantona, right? I've been chatting to him as Eric, and I've seen him going towards the stage and become Cantona, right? And he goes on as Cantona, to be in a situation now where somebody will pay him to perform music. I'm not seeing it, so I'm not being uber critical, but to have a divergence of careers, you know, acting and modelling and being in adverts, and I just think he can, for me, having spent that little time for him, not knowing him greatly, but knowing bits about him, that I think he's enjoying the fact that I can't believe that these people are giving me money for doing these things, and I think he's enjoying being part of this kind of thing. But I just think he's a normal lad from the borders of, you know, Spain and France that can't believe that he's achieved what he's achieved, and he's still getting an opportunity to live some kind of dream, you know. And as I say, maybe he did. I never heard him listen to any music. That doesn't say that he's not, he can't sing or he can't compose, you know. But I'm no pain to go and watch him. When we played in European games, away games in particular, the Bobby Charlton would come along and join in the training, and we would get great joy when the manager would take part as well. So being 50 odd then, Bobby would be 60 or something like that then, maybe 55, and we had a little possession game in a tight box, and there was nothing better than getting those two in the middle, and Bobby would be trying like an absolute demon, you know, like this was the first time he'd ever played football, and we'd just try to keep the ball off him, you know, and he was like truly determined still to do the right thing. And we'd, at the end of the session, the night before the game, we would always finish off a little game, 15-minute game, and there was a wet night. Bobby's playing because there's a place available, so he's playing for opposition, and I've hit the ball and I've mishit it. I was really, really good at mishitting it, and I mishit it, but I caught it really, really well, and I've hit him straight in the face and knocked him almost out, knocked him off his feet, lands on the ground, you know, and I'm killing myself laughing, you know, but Fergie's running over, "Well, be okay, Bobby, okay, Bobby," and he got up, and he'd be like those, it was like those cartoons, where it was the
wee birds flying.
That was like that. He was like that all that. So that was an achievement for me nearly knocking him out. And then again, going back to that, you know, 13-year-old boy, when you've gone and played a round of golf with Al McInally, and you're sitting in the pub in Uddingston, and Jimmy Johnson comes in, and he's excited to see you, and he comes over and sits down, and he's a window cleaner at the time, and he's having a little break in between his where his next job is, next house is, and he's sitting telling you stories. Davy Hay invited him to come to training one day. Wow, Jinky comes in down the road, Barrafield. It's called Barrafield.
Yeah, Barrafield.
Yeah, Barrafield. And Jimmy's playing. They played 6-a-sides, and he lobbed Pat Boner on 6-a-side goals.
Really?
Lobbed him. You're like that.
Wow.
Wow, right, you're like that. And it bounced on the head crossbar and went behind. And they went like that, and they went, "See you guys, I've got to go. I've got my window cleaner down to finish."
Wow.
And you're like that.
Just incredible.
Imagine playing with him.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. Superb. Is that your 11 then? Is that as suit there?
Well, I don't know if that's 11.
I think so. It might be. I lost.
It's good anyway. I think
I
if that was 10, you'd still probably win most games. Brian, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. We've spent so much time going over everything. I hope everybody's enjoyed listening to it and hearing the stories. I'm sure we could have went on for hours and hours more, but genuinely do appreciate you coming in and taking out all of this time to speak to us, Brian, and I hope you've enjoyed going back over some of those memories as well.
Always, and let me tell you, you would have known if I hadn't enjoyed it because I'd have been not here.
Well, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you again soon, Brian, and all the best in the future. We'll see you at Celtic Park, and thank you all very much for listening. Again, if you missed part 1, then you can go back and have a listen to that, going back through all the times with Celtic, and do join us again for our next official Celtic FC podcast. Hail, hail.